as they go with.
It later moved to Goshen, near the birthplace of the great horse, where in 1935, a distant grandson, the legendary Greyhound, raced to fame. In 1957, the now premier event in harness racing moved to the Illinois State Fair in DuQuoin. ABC's Wide World of Sports was there in 1964 to witness Ayer's victory. In 1981, the Hambo returned east as the New Jersey Meadowlands became host and was a site for Mac Lobel's 153 3 mile, then a world record and still the stakes record. Today, ABC's Wide World of Sports is excited to return to harness racing's $1 million event for trotters, the Hambletonian. And across the Hudson River, the skyline of Manhattan there in the background certainly reminds you of just how far the Hamiltonian has traveled since the days it began in a rural setting in upstate New York. Now it's $1 million purse that they will be competing for here today. Huge crowd on hand, around 30,000. A festive country fair atmosphere, if you will. A lot of children today have come out and they have joined their parents here in celebrating Hambletonian Day at the Meadowlands. And welcome again, everybody. I'm Brent Musburger. Certainly a pleasure for me to be working along the man who is, well, the encyclopedia of harness racing, if you will. Stan Bergstein, along with other things, he's the executive vice president of the Harness Tracks of America. He gave me a winner of the second division of the first heat. And Stan, I guess now that we're down to the meaning of this race, if either Harmonious or Embassy Lobel wins, they capture the Hambletonian. Will they win it in this heat, or are we going to go to a race-off?
I don't think they're going to go to a race-off. I think they're going to win it in this heat. One or the other, I think, will win. They were both very impressive, and they were dominant in their victories, and I think it's either one or the other. And interestingly enough, it's a rematch of the same ownership that wound up in last year's dead heat finish here at the Hambletonian.
So what a story we have, and I mentioned the $1 million purse. Here's how it breaks down now. They will pay the 1 through 5. The winner will take $673,000 or 50%. Now, Stan, you mentioned last year, and we had that dead heat, the only one in the history of the Hambletonian.
It was a very dramatic dead heat, and it was a case of Probe on the outside, Park Avenue Joe on the inside. Under furious urging, they wound up where the camera couldn't separate them, the judges couldn't separate them. It finally took a court case to do it, and the court case isn't over. We may decide today's Hamiltonian before last year's, or at least pay the winner before last year's winner gets paid.
All right, so the conditions for today's race, well, it has been warm here in New Jersey most of the day in the high 80s. The track condition very fast. In fact, the world record was set, Stan, for mares and fillies a little bit earlier in the day. Speaking of records, as far as the Hambletonian mark is concerned, it was set right here back in 1987 by Mac Lobel. Now, earlier, we had the first heat, which was split into 2 divisions, and this is Tom Durkin's call of the first division. And it was on the outside, Embassy Lobel rushing home with a great finish. We should point out that he had been trapped back there, Stan, much of the race.
Well, he was early, and Jeannie Somali had the lead, and it appeared to be headed for victory when he went off stride in the stretch. And Armbro Iliad grabbed the lead, but couldn't withstand the final charge of Embassy Lobel. Closed very impressive. This horse had been injured last year, suffered a serious knee injury, didn't win any money. Armbro Iliad won $235,000 last year and is having physical troubles this year. Fickle finger of fate in racing.
And then in that second heat, of course, it was Harmonious coming in. And so our current odds show Embassy Lobel at 6-5 and Harmonious with John Campbell driving even money right now. So those certainly are the favorites of the crowd. They join you, Stan, I think the public here, in feeling that this is going to end right now with this heat.
I think it is a 2-horse race here, although obviously you can never say that when there's a full field of horses. If there should be a winner other than the 2 divisional winners, either Embassy Lobel or Harmonious, then those 3 heat winners would come back, of course, for the 3-horse race-off.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Embassy Lobel, owned by Lou Gaida. He's had a marvelous record with the ownership right now.
This colt last year, Embassy Lobel, he's a very small horse. He's being driven by Mike Lachance, and we're going to see the action very shortly. Little horse, but a power.
And Harmonious is right next to him with John Campbell. So they come down now, and let's go upstairs to Tom Durkin for the call.
He's picking up speed, and here they come for the second and perhaps decisive heat of the 65th Hambletonian, and they're off. It's Royal Troubadour, who's out quickly for the lead, and Carl Allen sends him right to the front now and angles over inside. Then it's King of the Sea, who's right there racing second. Embassy Lovell has come out third toward the inside. Harmonious is gathered back in fourth position by John Campbell. Armbro Iliad is racing in behind him in fifth. Round Bones is sixth toward the inside and saving ground. The Devil is now parked out seventh. Peddler Yorktown is eighth. Meadow Branchetti is ninth on the outside. Antwerp Hanover trails the first quarter very quick. 28 and 1/5 seconds. Down the back stretch, Royal Troubadour setting a quick tempo here, chased by King of the Sea. 2.5 lengths back, Embassy Lovell is moving well in third position. Harmonious is tracking him all the way. It's another 2 lengths back to Armbro Iliad, who's settled in fifth place now. He's about 7 lengths off the lead. Then it's Crown Bones, farther back, Peddler Yorktown and the Devil. The trailers, Antwerp Hanover and Meadow Branchetti. They've gone a half mile, 56 and 2/5 seconds. A demanding opening half here. Royal Troubadour is set the pace, and there goes Embassy Lovell now. Embassy Lovell makes his move as they round the far turn. King of the Sea has had a perfect trip with Stanley Dancer so far in behind the leader. And on the outside, Harmonious and John Campbell, and they're in perfect striking position for the stretch. Armbro Iliad is only 5 lengths off the lead, and the field coming to the top of the stretch here at the Meadowlands with Royal Troubadour still fending off Embassy Lovell. King of the Sea is just in behind them at the rail. Harmonious poised on the outside fourth, coming down the lane. Royal Troubadour still bravely holding on to the lead. Embassy Lovell right there at his flank. Here comes Harmonious with his move. Harmonious forging on the outside to the lead, 100 yards out. It is Harmonious in front, and is beginning to pull away for driver John Campbell to win the 1990 Hamiltonian at 154-1. Embassy Lovell was second, Royal Troubadour third.
Just a marvelous performance by driver John Campbell, who has dominated the driving standings out here at the Meadowlands all meet long. His winning percentage, a phenomenal 22%, the third fastest time ever, and for Campbell Stan, his third Hambletonian victory. I don't know what you saw in that horse, but I got to tell everybody that you really liked him as early as yesterday.
Well, I liked him as early as last week when I saw him trot the last quarter mile. I figured that he had the fastest last quarter, and that's where, of course, the race was won. Campbell, who's now won more than $80 million in purses, he comes strong here. He followed a perfect race following Michel Lachance with the horse that he figured he had to beat, Embassy Lovell, and as it turns out, he was correct, as he usually is. Forges to the front here in the final stride, wins it by a length.
As we look at that stretch, one of the things to keep in mind, Harmonious and Campbell were certainly watching Embassy Lovell. They went with him, didn't they, Stan?
Well, the horse that they had to worry about, of course, was Royal Troubadour, who is the horse that likes to race in front. And Carl Allen gave him everything he had, all that he could pass out, and the horse simply could not withstand the late stretch drives of Harmonious and Embassy Lovell. So the Hamiltonian goes in 2 heats to Harmonious.
And here at the low angle, again, the power of Harmonious coming through. And there is no dead heat this year. And we have ended an era with the Hambletonian, because after this 65th edition, no longer will you have to win 2 heats. Next year, all you need to capture this great race will be a victory in 1 heat. And John Campbell getting the victory hug down there. And for Campbell here this afternoon, he already has kicked home 3 winners. He's done his usual phenomenal job out here at the Meadowlands. What a touch he has, Stan.
He is one of the most phenomenal drivers the sport has ever known. Campbell is a thinking driver, and every race that he races, he knows where he is, he knows where everyone else is, and he knows every other horse's capability in the race. He's only 35 years old, and he's won over 80 million in purses.
So there you have it. Campbell and Harmonious win the 65th Hambletonian. And we will continue with ABC's Wide World of Sports in just a moment. At the Meadowlands, where the Hamiltonian has just been decided, as Harmonious has broken through, and followers of John Campbell, well, if they bet Harmonious to win, 440, 280, and 240. Embassy Lovell, 260 and 220. And Royal Troubadour, $8 and 280. John Campbell, congratulations. You were just telling me that you played a little hockey, but you weren't big enough, and Harmonious is very happy about that.
Well, so am I. It's worked out this way. You don't get near as many knocks, and I think the pay is better.
John, we're going to pick this race up now in the backstretch, and I want to get your comments about the ride, what you were thinking about, what you were keeping an eye on.
Well, I was glad I didn't draw the rail, believe it or not. It was more advantageous for me to draw the 2 and follow Embassy Lobel. He was definitely the only horse in the race to beat in my mind after the first heat. Here I am, I'm following him, and this horse hasn't raced that much, but he's very comfortable following along. Some horses are very aggressive and don't relax. He's more relaxed following horses than he is when you take him out. And right in here, there's nobody coming from behind to force the issue, so I was content to just sit behind Embassy.
John, this is only his 8th and 9th lifetime starts. The horse raced as if he was an experienced horse.
Well, he's been getting better every start. His last start, I was really impressed with him. He acted like a more seasoned horse and really responded when I asked him. Here I've moved off the rail to follow Embassy Lobel, and Embassy Lobel is going without the cover, and I have it, and that's a big advantage, and that was just with the post positions, me being fortunate enough to draw 2.
You weren't concerned that Royal Troubadour could go all the way in front?
No, he was starting to get weak around the turn. I noticed that Carl was starting to chase him around the turn, and my horse still felt strong. I was pretty confident right in here. We turned in behind the lane. There's still nobody forcing me to go 3 wide even here, so I was fortunate to follow the cover right till halfway through the stretch, and that's just almost a perfect trip here at the Meadowlands.
Nice international flavor here as John Campbell, a native of Canada, wins with a horse trained by Osvaldo Formier from Argentina and Jorn Kvikstad from Norway, an international gala festival.
Yes, and they did a tremendous job prepping this horse. Like you mentioned, he only had 9 starts, but they did a tremendous job getting him ready.
Horse only made 2 starts last year as a 2-year-old.
He had a lot of problems. They always were high on his speed, but he just couldn't control it and was very headstrong, but he's settled down nicely now.
John, your great overall success. You have a wonderful touch with horses. What do you attribute that to?
Well, a lot of experience. I grew up with horses, and I don't know anything else to do, and I've been around them all my life, and I know horses and how they respond to my driving, and it's just through experience, and I think a God-given talent to a certain extent.
You're better than a lot of money market funds I know. Stan, it was a pleasure being with you. Thank you again. As we take a look one more time at the top 5 in the 65th Hambletonian, which was won by Harmonious, Embassy Lobel, Royal Troubadour, King of the Sea, and Armbro Iliad. So that wraps it up for the Meadowlands. For Stan Bergstein, I'm Brent Musburger. Let's send it along now to Roger Twibel. Roger?